Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield. That's right, I'm bad. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
I don't like spiders and snakes, and that is what it takes to love me. Hello, my friend.
Is that
a song you don't know, obviously?
I don't know it, but I'm here for it because it's true.
It's Jim Stafford, early 70s. My mom loved Jim Stafford. He also had Polk Salad Annie. I think that's what it's called. But anyway, that's a song called Spiders and Snakes. My mom used to sing it to me. Because she didn't like spiders or snakes.
I'm going to make that my new ringtone because I also don't like those things. We are dorking out about 1990s Arachnophobia. It's directed by Frank Marshall, and it stars Jeff Daniels, John Goodman, Julian Sands, Harley Jane Kozak. I think I got it right. Mm-hmm. Brian McNamara and Stuart Pankin. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Margo picked this movie, and I'm going to say right now, I think this is like this movie to me is one of the scariest movies ever made. I don't like spiders, so I spent a lot of this movie like covering my eyes and going, no! I have to ask, did you see this in the theater?
Yeah, and I loved it, and it never bothered me. And unlike you, I'm not that bothered by spiders. I don't like snakes. I don't like other things, but spiders don't really bug me that much. I mean, I don't want to have a tarantula on my hand or anything like that, but I don't freak out as much. I was telling you off the air, I had a roommate and she would freak out over spiders and mice and anything.
Yes.
Anyway,
if it's like a daddy long legs, I'm fine. Like I'll actually leave it alone. I might even try to help it outside. Like those don't scare me, but like when they get like darker in color and they're furry, oh, they gotta go. They're not allowed in the house. I can't have it. I'm like Homer.
You need to get
like,
workman boots for these things.
Yeah, I'm just like, Spider, you were not invited to this house. You go squish now. So I don't want to kill them, but if they put up any kind of fight when I try to usher them out, they have to go squish now. I can't have them in that.
Form a revolution of after you.
I can't have them even looking at me. I don't even want a spider. If it looks at me, I'm like, no, squish. You can't be here. I can't have it. This movie scares the shit out of me.
Sorry.
No. I saw it in the theater too. And I really liked it when I saw it in the theater because it's fun to be scared. Like it's fun and it's a horror comedy. It's super fun. Like I did spend a lot of the movie in the theater, like feeling itchy, like every little itch. I'm like, but I still liked it. And I really liked it this time too. Like when I say it's the scariest movie ever made, like it's because it hits me and like it's my fear that like spiders will like look at me, touch me, like, and spiders in this movie. All right. We should just go through it and, let's talk about it. So the movie opens with Julian Sands, dreamy Julian Sands.
Super dreamy.
Out in the middle of, the jungle of Venezuela, and he's discovered this like really like aggressive new breed of spider. And it's icky. Anyway, he gets this photographer to come out and take some pictures, and I guess the photographer's not really a nature photographer. What his thing is football, right? He's like, I'm a sports photographer.
He's not used to the outdoors for sure.
So he's kind of the comic relief in this situation until he isn't. And that's when the spider bites him and they like instantly die. You seize and you die. And they put his body in a coffin and one of the aggressive spiders like hitches a ride. The spider's very smart in this movie. And like hitches a ride and they send him back to California to his like, where is this town? Do you know? It's like
northern, like Santa Rosa.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like Northern California adjacent was my vibe. And so the body is sent back to town, and it's got this gross murder spider in there. And murder spider crawls out of the coffin, goes through the doggy door, which, because once again, the spiders are super smart, and starts roaming around this town. And that's when, like, Jeff Daniels and his adorable wife, everybody drink, Harley Jane Kozak, and their kids move from San Francisco to this town. She's great. You texted me and you're like, she used to be a thing. What happened to her?
She was. I don't know. She was in Parenthood, which we'll talk about one day,
Yes.
but I love her in that. She was in, there was this movie with Brad Pitt and Elizabeth McGovern, and it was like The Dare or The Favor. And
I know what movie you're talking about. Yes.
yeah, she was in that, but I loved LA Law when that was on the air. And there was a whole multi-part episode where she was accused of killing her husband. And spoilers, she did.
Oh!
She got away with it.
It's a crime, but was she wrong?
No. And she always has this just fabulous mane of hair.
Yes.
And everything looks good on her. She's like perfect figure, like looks great in everything.
Yes.
And she's funny as shit.
She is. I agree. Like, I really like her in this movie. It's like a pretty thankless part, but I actually think she's good in it. And it's always cool to see Jeff Daniels. So they move to the country. They establish pretty early on that Jeff Daniels is absolutely terrified of spiders. Like, he freezes up. He can't do anything about them. And he actually has to call his wife to come and, like, usher spiders out of the house. I wish you lived closer, Margo, because I would call you to come over and usher the spiders out of my house.
I'm more of a flinger. I'm not as gentle as she is. They got a couple of chances, get in the magazine that I curled up or the whatever paper and get out the door and figure your way out in the world.
Yes.
I'm not going to be as gentle as she is.
Yeah. Seriously, the removal of spiders is pretty much the only reason I'd consider remarrying at this point. Like, I need somebody to be here to remove spiders. I'll put that on my Bumble profile. I need a remover of spiders. Thank you.
Do you kill arachnids? You're hired.
Yeah. I'm interested. Swipe right. So Jeff Daniels is a doctor who moves from San Francisco, the big city, San Francisco, to take over the practice of this retiring town doctor. And the town doctor's he's quite old, and
it's Henry Jones.
Yeah, and he's a dick.
Well, he's a total dick. Okay, so it's just the day before I recorded for Book versus Movie, The Bad Seed, and he's the real creepy guy in The Bad Seed.
Oh, that's funny.
Rhoda has a problem with. Yeah, and then later that day I saw this movie. I'm like, holy crap. So he's this doctor, and he's told Jeff Daniels, I'm going to retire. You can have my practice. And I guess they're tired of the big city. So you move out here, and that's going to be your life. And they move out there, and the doctor's like, I'm not retiring because if I retire, I'm going to die in a few months. So I've decided it's a dick move. He already bought this huge house.
Yes.
And I don't know what Harley Jane Kozak does because is she stay-at-home mom?
They said that she was a stockbroker.
Oh, well, not here.
No, she said that she quit her job, and they were going to have this like new quiet life. Like, he's going to be this town doctor. She's not going to work. I think she was going to like do photography or something. They were changing their life. Or kill spiders. One of those. That was her job. She's going to be exterminator or photographer. I forget. But then this, old doctor's like a total dick move. Like, I understand the logic. Like, a lot of old people are like, I don't want to retire because then I'm just going to die. Like, I get it logically, but I'm like, that sucks. Those people uprooted their whole life and moved to this small town. And he's like, meh. And then proceeds to undermine him like every chance he gets too. He sucks.
Yeah, he kind of deserves to die. Spoiler.
Yes.
I remember the scene. Can I interrupt you for a second? There's a scene where Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
He becomes friends with the high school football coach.
Yes.
And he tells him, I got a job for you if you're interested. And he goes to the high school, and basically all the players are there.
Yes.
And they have to have their hernia checked.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we're sitting in the movie theater. I don't know if it's a double date situation or what, but my friend Jude just goes, "What is he doing? Why are they coughing?" And like people in the audience started giggling because we're like, "Oh my God, she really doesn't know." So every time I see that scene, I just remember we're like, "He's checking for hernia."
The date after the movie, he's like, "Hey, I'll show you after the movie." Yeah.
Exactly.
So there is a scene where there's a spider in Jeff Daniels' house. His wife comes and like ushers the spider outside, and then their little spider that they've like saved, like basically goes on a date and hooks up with the gross, disgusting, giant murder spider that is set up in their barn. And there's this like scene where Jeff Daniels and his wife are like kissing, and they're gonna do it, and then they cut to like the spiders also like doing their mating dance, and I'm like, ew. Gross. So Jeff Daniels makes friends with the nice lady who lives like down the street. I almost said down the hall. Down the street. She knows that the old doctor's out of touch. So what did she say? He's like one step away from using leeches. Like he's super out of it. And so she goes to see Jeff Daniels. He is disappointed that she's perfectly healthy, because he's like, my one patient. I wish she was ravaged by disease. And he takes her off this like high blood pressure medicine that she wasn't supposed to be on. She's very nice. She's very sweet. She throws a party for Jeff Daniels to like help him like meet other people in the town, and maybe they'll start trusting him too. And the night after the party, one of those murder spiders gets in her house and like bites her, and she dies. And I was like, that was sad. I thought that part was really sad. She seemed like a nice lady.
Well, a lot of people are going to go. That's the thing you got to, and this is the thing. It's like, it's a comedy, but it's also a thriller because these spiders don't care who you are or how old you are. They're just going to bite you and kill you.
Yeah. So
and that's
gross.
what happened. Yeah. Henry Jones is with his nice wife. And he's so interested in not dying. He has a treadmill in his bedroom. They have plenty of room in that house. And he's got the treadmill in there. He's like, I'm going to take every step I can. And then he puts his feet. This is when I get freaked out because the spider goes into the slipper.
Oh. Yeah.
Bites his toe.
So and then, but right before that, Jeff Daniels does the hernia check. A kid puts on his football helmet. A murder spider's in the helmet. He gets bit. He dies. So now people in the town are like, "Fuck Jeff Daniels!" Like every time that doctor sees somebody, they die. And then it happens to the old doctor too. And that's when like shit starts to get real. And he starts figuring it out. There's murder spiders. And they're everywhere. Like it's so gross. They breed super fast. They're everywhere. And they're in these like spots that like, I don't know, like sensitive air, like what's the right word I'm looking for? Where you're vulnerable. Like, so there's like one hiding on the toilet. There's like, that's a fucking nightmare. There's one in the shower. Like this girl is showering and then like, it's like creeping along the shower curtain and it falls on her face and she doesn't even realize it because of the water. And it's like, it's in shoes and
yeah.
I'm sorry. The whole podcast is just going to be me going, blah, blah, blah.
But yeah, these spiders get around and they're moving very quickly and they're lethal. And so Jeff Daniels is trying to figure it out. And of course he hires John Goodman, who's the town, exterminator.
Yes.
Very, very funny role he's usually funny.
He's just John
great.
Goodman. I love John Goodman.
Yeah. And he says, "That's right, I'm bad," which is, I think, from a Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder movie.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Stir Crazy, right?
Stir Crazy. That's right.
That's right. I'm bad.
We bad.
I'm like, I don't think that movie's aged well.
No, probably not.
I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, doesn't Gene Wilder wear blackface in that movie?
I think he does. Yes.
Yes. Yes. But he did it with Richard Pryor, so I guess it's okay. No, I don't know. So Jeff Daniels is figuring it out. It's like his nightmare, basically. There's spiders everywhere. And that's when he calls Julian Sands to ask about spiders. But he sends Brian McNamara, who also like showed up a lot in like early 90s stuff. I bet he's like a Hallmark movie guy now.
He totally is a Hallmark movie guy right now. He almost made it. He was like the second and third in a lot of things. Okay, we talked about a Diva's Christmas Carol.
Oh yes, that's where I recognize him. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, every holiday season, Margo and I do an episode about one of the Christmas Carol adaptations because there's so many. And he was in Diva's Christmas Carol. That's right. Thanks for the heads up.
I got you.
You do. So he comes out and he's like, oh shit, like this is a super poisonous spider. He is starting to figure out that it is tied to the spider that Julian Sands discovered in Venezuela. So that's when Julian Sands comes out too. And now like this is when spiders are now everywhere. That's when they start showing up like on the toilet and the shower. They're crawling out of the sinks and like, oh, it's so gross. And we get like John Goodman kind of like doing his best, like, Ghostbusters, I guess. He's got like his special mix of insecticide and he's, all suited up and he's just running around and he's just spraying all these spiders. And it is discovered that basically Jeff Daniels' barn and house is, I guess, ground zero for the spiders.
Yeah. Well, it's the big spider web that you see. That's like, that gives you the big, and it's huge spider web.
Huge. Wouldn't you freak out if you saw a spider web that huge?
Okay. That would freak me out. And she's like telling him, oh, just go up and crawl up next to it. And they're in the barn. And it gets on their faces when they fall, and she's laughing at him for being upset. I'm like, okay, I'm upset, and I don't really care about spiders.
It's not good. Like those spider webs are really huge. You would think it was made by like that giant spider from Lord of the Rings. Oh, ew! I'm traumatized.
What about the giant spider from It, the TV movie?
Ew! See, no.
Really?
No, it's all scary. I don't like it.
Okay.
They have lots of eyes. They have lots of eyes and lots of legs. I don't know. There's something about spiders that I know a lot of people.
You don't like spiders or snakes?
I don't like spiders. Or snakes are really scary too because they have like cold, dead eyes, kind of like sharks.
Snakes. I was terrified of quicksand and cobras when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because both of those things would kill you in movies that I saw, like the TV movies, the afternoon movies.
Yes,
it was those two things. Cobra would blind me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even care about the boa constrictor. That never even comes. But then quicksand. I thought quicksand was a thing.
Yeah, we were all raised to think that quicksand would be a thing.
Yeah,
I have never encountered quicksand, but many spiders. No snakes. Yep. That I can think of.
No snakes, really?
No. Surprisingly, not a lot. I mean, men who I'd be like, what a snake, but never like a real life, like actual snake.
Or a trouser snake.
So many trouser snakes. So many.
We lived in Pennsylvania for a while. We were out in the country. So I got used to frogs and snakes and all kinds of things.
Trouser snake. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. Oh my God, I haven't thought about that saying in a long time. Yeah. I used to be
in the 70s and 80s back. That's all I'm doing with this episode.
I used to be a bit of a trouser snake charmer back in the day, but not so much now.
So was I.
Yeah. Now, no. That's a different kind of movie.
Oh, are there kids listening to this?
I hope not. So. I hope not. I always put the explicit tag on all our episodes.
Good idea.
There should be no kids listening, but if there are, here's what a trouser snake is. No. When a man and a woman love each other very much. And so, ew. So there's a really long, like, I think the finale is actually really good in this movie with Jeff Daniels is down in what was supposed to be his wine cellar. And he's having a face off with the spider. And I think because it must be, it's like a animatronic spider they've got going on with a mix maybe of like a real life spider. It's really well done. Like there's the whole time.
No CGI. There's no CGI in this movie. So it's practical effects and real spiders. So
yes.
It really works.
It totally works. And, I did a little bit of reading. I didn't read a lot because I don't want to read about spiders. But I know that they used a lot of real, like, harmless spiders, obviously. And that they were very careful not to hurt the spiders, which I'm like, y'all are better people than me. And there's so many spiders in this movie. I'm like, I don't know how they would do it. Like, there's this, like, the scene where all the spiders come out of the sink, or they start coming out from like behind curtains and paintings and all. And I'm like, how did they, because once again, no CGI, how did they wrangle all these spiders?
It's got to be someone's job.
Right? Like, talk about herding cats. Like, how do you do it with spiders?
I don't know what motivates spiders. I know with my cats, it's Friskies. If you shake the Friskies bag, they'll pretty much do whatever you want.
Do they have a bunch of flies on strings? Wee! Come and get it! Like, how did they do that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I want to see the making. Do I? I'm like, I kind of want to see the making of Arachnophobia. Like, how did they?
It might help you.
Maybe. I'm like, I'm dying to know how they did it. But in that final act, the spiders never look fake to me. And at any part in the movie, do the spiders, they don't look fake. They look real. So the effects are really, really good in this movie. And the stuff at the end, that spider looks real. And it's terrifying to me. And it's really smart. Like, I like how he's trying to burn it and it's like running and then it's like stopping and like hiding behind things, like sheltering itself. It's a smart spider. It's just, I think this whole scene is really well done. And then they keep showing the close up of the spider's eyes. And it's like, and there's like fire in the eyes. And I'm like, oh God, so gross.
This is so funny. I've seen this movie like a dozen times. I don't recall those details at all. It's like you're really focused on those eyes and the legs.
Margo, it's going to keep me awake for weeks.
Well, get to what we're working out about, and then that'll calm you down. I think I got the solution, but you keep going.
Okay, it's just this movie, like, it's 90s, so there's things about it that are a little dated, obviously, but like, I think the movie works. Like, I think it's tight. Yeah. It moves. Like, you like a lot of the people in this. I like a lot of these people. I care about them. I think it's funny when it needs to be funny. It's got like good tension in it. It's like Gremlins. Like Gremlins. Like, it's got that like Gremlin, like Spielberg vibe about it that kind of shit always works for me. So maybe that's why I respond to it. I think it's really good. It's a really good movie.
I have to say, we were going to cover something else, and I was 10 minutes into it, and you were on your way to do something fun, and I was like, text you, like, please, can we chat? You're like, fine, whatever, just tell me whatever.
I'm like, Margo, I'm on my way to see Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's one of my favorite musicals, by the way.
We're going to talk about Jesus Christ. Yeah, because we'll talk about that in a minute, because that wasn't going to be on my list, but I'm going to write it down so that we don't forget. Jesus Christ Superstar. Okay. Keep going. Jesus Christ Superstar. What did you think? Like, you've seen it a million times. Like, well, not a million times. You've seen it more than me. How did it play out for you? Were you scared at all, or were you just like entertained?
Entertained. I mean, scared in like the fun way to be scared. I'm not uncomfortable when I watch this movie, I mean, towards the end when they're in the living room and they're kind of trapped in the living room, and then the spiders come through,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's intense. And believe me, if there were a bunch of spiders walking in this room right now, I probably would scream. I'm not going to lie. But I always remember just the little things, like I said, like when he's checking for the herding us.
Yeah.
It's like the indignity of that scene. It goes on and on and on. All these guys turning and coughing. I remember John Goodman strutting around trying to take care. Julian Sands is beautiful.
Yes.
Harley Jane Kozak and her just gorgeous mane of hair and her 90s fashions. I mean, she looks great in everything.
She does.
I'm like, I'm just completely, it's Northern California in 1990. I used to live out there then. I mean, it's just, for me, it gives me happy memories. So
yeah.
I just laugh. I was surprised how well it holds up. But the movie we were going to cover was The Frighteners. And it just, with 10 minutes in, it was just all CGI.
Yeah.
And I don't like CGI. It takes me out of things.
I understand.
I'd much rather see a bunch of spiders and somebody had to wrangle them with cheese or whatever spiders eat. I don't know what. Isn't that for, that's for mice, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. There's like spider snacks. Are there spider snacks like Scooby snacks, but for spiders? I don't know.
Spider catching one
like,
of those
I don't
red
know what
wheels of cheese of Gouda.
I'm like, seriously, I'm just obsessed with. I'm gonna do some Google. I should have done some Googling.
Trouser snake.
I should have done some. By the way,
I can't breathe.
we're doing. This is a happy hour show. If y'all can't tell.
Oh my God.
I really should have done some Googling before this about how they filmed this movie. I really am. I'm dying to know now, like, how they managed to deal with all these spiders. Like,
okay, so find out and then put it on our Twitter feed. You gotta send out some clips. Okay.
I will, because I really need to know. Because you can't train a spider. There's no way you could train a spider. It can't be done. It's not like, okay, Steve, on the count of 3, I want you to crawl out of the drain. There's no way. But I just assumed the spider was named Steve, by the way. I just assumed.
Steve the spider, of course.
Dude, he looked like a Steve. I'm just saying. He looked like a Steve to me.
Steve-ish energy.
Yes. There's like, there's a couple of them. There's a Steve, there's a Gary, there's a Chad. There's definitely a Chad in there.
Yeah, there's always a Chad.
Probably an Eric with a K.
A Chet.
Yeah, a Chet, definitely a Chet.
An Alec.
Alec. Oh my gosh, yes.
Fire. We're just going through.
We're just going through. There's a Billy. I love. There's a Chet. There's got to be a Chet. He's the dick. He's the biggest dick of all the spiders.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's the one that, like, makes fun of them all. He's a bully. He smashes their shit all the time. It's like, fucking Chet. That's the story I've made up now. That all the spiders live together in a house during the filming. So it ends with they basically burn down they burn down their house and the barn, I guess, by the end. Like, everything's on fire. To be fair, it is the only way to be sure that you kill them all. They should burn the whole town. To be honest, they should burn the whole town, and salt the earth so nothing grows there again. Yes, the town needs to pick up and move. Yes,
I totally agree. And then I love the last shot. Because back in San Francisco, and they're just like, gorgeous view, and then you see this little spider just kind of come out.
And they're like, I loved it. We're back in San Francisco. This is great. With everything we can control, and then there's an earthquake that just really, really shakes them. And, as someone who lives in San Francisco, I'm like, that earthquake was so little.
It was like a 5 point something. Who gives a shit? Yeah, I remember.
But, it's so funny because that's like a whole other fear, right? That you can't control. So I get it. And it's a nice little punch to end on. This is a super enjoyable movie that holds up. And I love that we're doing this movie because coincidentally, over at F This Movie, Erica Bromley was just talking about arachnophobia in one of their episodes. I didn't know that she was talking about it. And she said she played it for her class and that this movie played for the kids so well that they were super into it. And that made me so happy to hear that.
Well, there's nothing, except for the fashions, there's nothing really dated about it. It's super tight, like you said. It's 3 acts, and it's funny when it needs to be. It's scary when it needs to be. It's got a good explanation for what's going on. And it's for a lot of people, it's their biggest freaking fear.
It really is.
And it completely plays on it. So I totally love it.
Yeah. And the spiders are, it's a really good bad guy. Because who cares? Fuck these spiders. Like,
yeah.
Fuck you, Chet. They gotta go. They gotta go. I mean, they could make some other movies about great fears. They could do a movie that's all about public speaking. That would scare people.
Giving a speech in class?
Yeah. A whole movie about giving a speech in class. We do a podcast and that would still scare me.
Or going on job interviews. Look, it's just constant.
Yes. I like it. A whole movie about like a chef that doesn't wash his hands.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, that'll get me.
That's a nightmare. That's one of my fears.
I was on the subway once and a pigeon was trapped in the subway. Like it was flying around the subway. And everybody was like, whoa.
Like in the train or in the station?
In the train.
Yes.
Oh, no, in the station, I'm fine.
Yeah, I see them all the time in the station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were in the subway car.
Oh, man.
And it was not pleasant.
No, I know that a lot of people freak out about pigeons because they're so gross and dirty. I'm fine with pigeons, actually, but they are gross and dirty. I get it.
Yeah, they just do your pigeon thing. I'm fine. Just don't shit on my air conditioner. That's where I got that. That's why you have that thing in my air conditioner. It's this giant. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah, no, they shit everywhere. They're gross.
They're disgusting. My old one, I got rid of it finally, and the guy that took it out for me goes, oh, Jesus Christ, like it was so bad. So then I got a hawk. It's like this plastic hawk.
Yeah.
And it's gigantic, and it sits on top of my air conditioner. It scares away the pigeons. So
it works.
Shit on someone else's air conditioner. It does work. It totally works. They think it's a bigger prey. But when people come over to visit me, they're like, what the fuck is on your air conditioner? Why do you...
do you pretend there's nothing there? You're like, there's nothing there. Why? What do you see?
What?
It's a little gremlin. It's just a little gremlin. I'd report that pigeon on the subway for fare evasion. I'm like, officer, this guy didn't pay.
There's always somebody, not all heroes wear capes. There's always someone who can manage a bird really well. Because I've been in situations where birds like show up someplace and there's somebody who knows how to hold them just right and get them out of danger.
Yeah.
There's always somebody that like knows, because I scream and hide. I can't, I'm not helpful.
I understand. That's how I would be if a tarantula crawled on that subway.
It'd be interesting to see what would happen to a tarantula on a subway.
I'd fucking freak out.
I think a lot of people would just stomp it. I mean, honest to God.
I would just get right off. I'd be like, the next stop's my stop.
Multiple occasions I've been on the subway where someone has had a huge boa constrictor or like a big snake around their shoulder. Several times.
Oh, New York.
That's not even. Yeah, exactly. And then there was the one time I looked up and there was a guy head to toe. It was the Halloween time, dressed as Edward Scissorhands, like the full thing. And I looked up and I'm like, you fucking asshole. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know why. It just angered me. I was just like, come on, get a cab.
If you can afford that costume, you can afford a cab, sir.
You can get a lift and go to your party. Like, nobody has to deal with your finger knives here.
Finger knives.
Is that what he had? Like scissor hands?
Yeah, scissor hands. It's right in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't say I've seen, because I ride public transportation here in San Francisco pre-COVID. Barely now, barely ever. But I don't think I've ever seen people with snakes, but I've definitely seen people with like birds on their shoulders. Like
I have parrots and
stuff like that. I've seen people bring their cats out And
Yeah,
I've seen a
cats
couple
on
of
shoulders.
rats.
Yeah, there's a couple of rats. I've seen cats on shoulders. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that makes me happy. But and there's one time there was somebody who had an IKEA bag, and it was some big ass like a husky dog. Like they brought. If you could put the dog in a bag, they
Yeah.
basically say your pets. If you could fit it in a bag, you could take it on the subway. And so
Yes.
people really push that definition. But one guy just had a snake, and I think I was even going to Coney Island that day. Well, of course, okay.
Yeah.
He's got a freak show to go to or something.
Oh my God. One of my dogs is 70 pounds. Can you imagine if I just like put him in like one of those like baby Bjorns or whatever on my fucking back?
People do. Oh yeah.
It'd be so, oh my God, he'd be so heavy.
And those dogs get a lot of attention because everybody's like, oh.
Yeah. I see people do that all the time with corgis and little wiener dogs and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because they're fucking adorable. I want to bring them everywhere too. I get it.
Yeah.
But you probably shouldn't bring them into the store. Just saying.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people, I have a friend, John, he freaks out when people bring their pets into stores. He gets so angry.
My friend Susanna had a Pekingese, and that dog went with her everywhere. We saw Broadway shows. She brought the dog with her.
Oh my gosh. Were people crazy about it? Were they like, why is your dog here? Or were they totally fine?
She said most of the time people were really cool because it was a very cute, tiny little dog. But she said occasionally someone would get very hostile to her. And even when the dog was in the carrier. And mostly she had it in the carrier, by the way. I should explain that. So she just didn't have him. But she would take him everywhere. And it was, people would get it, like I said, we're at a Broadway. What were we seeing? Like The Producers or something like that. It was like a big show at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was little and he just slept the whole time. He didn't, you know.
Well, some people, it really is like their emotional support animal. And a lot of people have these dogs also for obviously seeing eye dogs. And some people have them. I went to a ball game and somebody had their dog and it was wearing a little vest and it was for diabetes. Like he was like really severe diabetic, I guess. And
he goes into shock or something.
And so he had his dog there and the dog was wearing the little vest and it says what he's for. And I was like, all right.
I'm picturing a dog that's like an expert in baseball helping a blind guy.
That means it's a ball. Roof, roof, strike.
Foul ball. Foul ball.
Home run. He's got a little cap on. So cute. He's got a mitt on his tail. It's adorable.
Keep score with a little paws.
Oh, I want that. I want a baseball expert dog. Do you want to hear about some other movies that came out in 1990?
Please, yeah. I'm going to take a sip of wine. Do it.
Okay. Die Hard 2 came out in 1990.
Yeah, people die on the plane.
Spoiler, no snakes.
That super upset my father, by the way. He got so mad at that movie. Yeah, because it killed all the people on the plane.
Oh.
It was just like, so if those things upset you.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
Tremors.
Love Tremors.
I love Tremors too. Tremors is very entertaining. Here's a movie that when I saw it at the time, I was like, that's fine. And then watched it years later and I'm like, this is better than I thought. Mermaids.
I haven't seen Mermaids in a very long time. I would be curious to see it.
It's got Cher and Bob Hoskins and Winona Ryder, Christina Ricci. I think to me, I was like, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's fine. And now, like, as more of an adult, I'm like, it hits me in different places now, I guess. And the cast is really awesome. I like it more now. Joe versus the Volcano.
An underrated classic film. One
so
of the
good.
Best movies ever. One of my absolute is it on our list because it's one of my favorites.
Let's put it on the list. I'm sure it's already on the list, but let's move it up.
Move it up because I remember every time I'm around fluorescent lights, I turn it to I'm like these lights are sucking the life out of me.
I'm writing it down. I'm going to move it up our list. Maybe we could do it in November. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Volcano month.
Everyone loves Volcano month. So if you're young, you probably don't know this, but in 90, there was this dance craze and it was called the Lambada. And it was very exciting for people who love to dance. And there were 2 movies all about the Lambada. And one was called Lambada. And the other one was called, do you remember it?
La Bamba, La Bamba, no, La Bamba. La Bamba's another thing.
That's a whole other thing. Richie!
Lord of the Dance? No, that's the
Oh,
other
you're
thing.
you're getting close. The Forbidden Dance.
Well, it's humping on the floor, basically.
Yes,
It's what
that's totally all it is. Or freaking
grinding.
is basically freaking. They called it freaking or grinding the lambada.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you do some spins. Yeah. 2 movies about it. Trying to hop in on that like dirty dancing craze, I guess. I don't know. A couple other movies. The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
Never seen it.
Movie's fucked up. And it played at my theater. People hated it. Hated it. Oh my God. They'd like come running out. They hated it. I don't remember hating it, but it didn't play well in bougie Walnut Creek where I was working at the time. Other movies, Days of Thunder.
Never seen it.
You're fine. You're fine.
I have a feeling,
Bonfire of the Vanities.
I just tried watching that a few weeks ago. There was a podcast about it. The woman who wrote the book about the making of the Bonfire of the Vanities had a podcast, and she kept tapes of all these interviews of people from that time, like cassette tapes, Bruce Willis and Tom Hanks and stuff. And Bruce Willis is an asshole.
Surprise.
Yeah, no surprise.
Yeah, that movie was like a massive
flop,
like box office and creatively. It was studied for years. And the last movie on this list is Jacob's Ladder.
That's a fucked up movie.
That movie's fucked up and scary. I remember that movie being scary. I should rewatch it.
He's like a Vietnam vet who's having flashbacks or something.
The movie's fucked up.
Do you want to hear some of the songs from 1990? Some of the big songs? All right. Paula Abdul and the Wild Pair, Opposites Attract.
I love that
Great song.
Love that song.
Do you remember Alana Miles, Black Velvet? She was a star for like a minute.
Yeah, she was. I know that song.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It's catchy as shit.
It is catchy. You couldn't get away from it back in the day.
No. Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You. A perfect song.
It's so good. Written by Prince.
Yep.
Good one.
New Kids on the Block, Step by Step. Baby. Janet Jackson, Black Cat. Great song.
Forever love Janet Jackson.
Janet's the best Jackson.
She is the best Jackson. I agree.
And my favorite, Belle Biv DeVoe, Do Me.
Fucking love Belle Biv DeVoe. We've talked about Belle Biv DeVoe on the show before. They're fucking dope. We love Belle Biv DeVoe. Such a good song. I'm going to listen to some Belle Biv DeVoe after I Google how they wrangled spiders. What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
I don't know if you've heard about this movie. The woman is Radha Blank. She's the writer, director, creator. She was a playwright in New York forever. And the movie's called The 40-Year-Old Version. Version.
Okay.
Let's play on the movie. Okay.
Got it.
So she's an African-American woman who teaches high school theater. And she was, when she was younger, she was a playwright. And then she had some failures and it scared her from trying. And so she's kind of stuck in her life. She's like 40 years old. She's trying to figure out, like, single, not sure about her career. And she finds out that she's really good at rapping, but dropping beats and stuff like that. And she starts hanging out with these younger people in New York at night. And she has a few times where she busts out some songs. And she's so good. She's so fucking hilarious. She gets recruited to do a show called Harlem Ave, which is just it was kind of like gentrification of Harlem. And it's like white saviors meet black people. It's very meta. It's very meta, but it's about being a creator, being somebody who's in your middle of your life. And what do you do? How do you move forward? Her mother died and she's kind of not getting over that. And she's so funny and so smart. And it's in black and white. It's beautiful. It looks great. And I can't get the song White Man with a Black Girl's Butt out of my head.
Sold. Where can I watch this?
Netflix. This is an opportunity.
All right.
Netflix. It's called it's called The 40-Year-Old Version. She's so hilarious and vulnerable. It's got relatable people. The kids are great that she teaches, and there's a great sex scene with her and a younger guy who's a producer, and I just loved it.
All right.
Super, and she's just fantastic and a great talent, and it's just loved it. And then the Muppets on the Disney Channel.
Yes.
Muppet Haunted Mansion.
I just watched that this morning.
Isn't it the best?
It's so cute.
It's first of all, Pepe Le Pew is funny as shit.
I was cracking
Whoever
up.
does Pepe, it was great. They have good songs, great people in the cast. I mean, it's the second time I've watched it. I liked it so much. I watched it again. It's super great.
Yeah, I watched it with some friends this morning, and what's funny is the kids were like, "Bah!" and they like left because they were annoyed with us. They just wanted to watch video game movies or video game on YouTube or whatever. And we were like, no, let's watch something. And so we put on Haunted Mansion, the Muppets Haunted Mansion. The adults stayed and watched it, and the kid, by the way, if the kids had stayed, they would have loved it too, but they were like being jerks. So they were like, peace out, and they left us. And we were cracking up. We had such a good time watching it. I really liked it. And first of all, Will Arnett was made to be like with the Muppets.
Yes.
I think he's like a natural with the Muppets. But also, I love it when actors, comedians, whatever, play it straight with Muppets.
Yes.
Like, they don't act like I'm in a Muppet movie. Like, they do it like they're real co-stars, basically, not puppets. And it just works. And I think there's probably a lot in there for people who are dorks about Haunted Mansion or Disney that will probably appreciate it even more than I did, because I know the Haunted Mansion, but I don't know like everything about the Haunted Mansion, so I'm sure there's a lot in there, but it was really fun.
I loved it. I don't know anything about the Haunted Mansion, so I just took it for what it was.
Yeah.
Taraji B. Henson is hilarious.
She's so
in there.
good.
But that Pepe Le Pew, oh my God, is he hilarious. He's so fucking funny.
Yes.
I was cracking up. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, it's really good. That's a good one. Good call. I have two things. So, we need to go back to this. So Thursday, my sister and my best friend and I went and saw Jesus Christ Superstar, which I have never seen. I've never seen the movie. I don't know the music. I don't know. I just know, like, I know the story of Jesus Christ because I've heard it. And like, my mom used to make me like go to church and, CCD and all that shit. But
yeah.
So we went and saw the musical here in San Francisco, and my sister was so excited because she's like, oh my God, the movie's so good. You need to watch the movie. She's like, it's like super 70s and they're all hippied and all this stuff. And then it turns out this version, they've like made it grunge.
Oh.
And once again, I've never seen Jesus Christ Superstar. So I watched it and I was like, oh, this is like, there's like this grunge band that super likes Jesus Christ Superstar, and they're just performing the songs. Like, that's what it seemed to me. And then there was some dancing. My sister and my friend were very disappointed.
I'm sorry.
I know. I was like, what a bummer. And the people around us were really disappointed too. And I'm like,
that's the worst.
Like, I think they really wanted it to be like the movie. And, I guess that's not really fair, it is what it is, and they should judge it on what it is, I guess. But they had certain expectations. And I have to say, I think a lot of the people there were like us, which is before COVID, my sister and I had bought tickets to see the Mean Girls musical. And then they were just instead sent us tickets for Jesus Christ Superstar. And I'm like, these are very different things. These are very different things. But I will say it was super fun to go out. I thought the cast was really good, and they're very talented. It just, there's also no dialogue. So if you don't know the story, you're going to be very confused. And
the resurrection and all that.
Yeah, well, hopefully people know the story. I would assume most people probably know the story because you can't fucking get rid of it. But I don't know. It was fine. I like the music, and I am going to go watch the movie. But then I walked them to their car, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I walked by a movie theater, and it was showing Last Night in Soho. And it was starting right then. And I was like, I'm just going to go in and see how many people are in there. There was nobody in there. And I watched The Last Night in Soho in the theater.
I've been wanting to see it. It's not streaming anywhere.
No, I think it's just in it probably will come out in streaming really soon, but it was in theaters just this weekend. It just opened. And I went, and I love Edgar Wright movies. I love them. Like Scott Pilgrim, Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, I love all of the movies. And I really like this one too. I thought it was really
wait to see it.
I thought it was really good. It's creepy and sad. It's sad in some parts. I don't think it has the humor that a lot of his other movies have, and it didn't have quite the musicality of the other ones, especially something like Baby Driver, which like music was like everything in that movie. But I still really, really liked it. And Matt Smith is in it, and he's really great. And it stars Thomasin McKenzie. She plays like this naive, I don't want to give too much away, because that's part of the fun of watching the movie, but she's like this kind of sheltered woman who really loves like 60s fashion and music, and she goes to like a design school in London, and she's renting this room, and she starts like thinking a lot about the past, about the 60s and stuff like that. And then it's got like Anya Taylor-Joy is in it. Anna Taylor-Joy.
I think it's Anna.
Yeah. She is so beautiful. And she's so good in this movie. I'm like, she's a movie star. If you've seen The Queen's Gambit, you know who I'm talking about. She's so good in this movie, and she's so stupid fucking beautiful. She's so beautiful. And then we get Terrence Stamp shows up in there, and Diana Rigg shows up in there. I think it's probably her last movie, like performance, like last thing she did. It's really good. I recommend it.
I can't wait to see it. I'm jealous you got to see it. I've been trying to get it, but I won't go to the theater. I'm still not ready to go to the theater.
No, like I said, I went online and looked just to see, like, because it literally, like, it was like 10 o'clock. The movie started at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm just going to look and see. And because you can buy your tickets online. And I saw that, like, none of the seats were bought. It was an empty theater at 10 o'clock on Thursday night. And I was all, sweet. So I just ran in there and got my popcorn and sat down. I was so happy. It was lovely.
Yeah,
it was lovely to be back. It was fun. It's a good one. I liked it a lot. I'll put it in my Edgar Wright collection.
I could tell you, I could never do a play and then a movie. It's one or the other for me. Because I have to then get out.
I have to tell you, I was a little surprised at myself because I'm kind of in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I was gonna. First, it's the late thing, but then it's just also like just two separate things I have to take in. I wouldn't be able to do it. So I commend you.
Yeah, props to me. I don't know how I made that happen, but I don't know. It seemed strangely irresistible. I was like, it's here. I'm like right here. I could just go in and like, I already pay for this like movie pass. Like I have like 1 million free movies on this like movie pass thing because I haven't used them during COVID. So it was basically like I paid for it, but it felt like I was seeing it for free. Anyway, it was fun. I think it's really good, and it's really creepy. I love the look of it. Like it just looks great. Like the clothes, like especially the 60s, like clothes. It looks really, really good. I think you'll like it. So hopefully it's streaming soon.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's a good one. This was fun. I know that like I'm really terrified to talk about arachnophobia, and you made me watch a movie about spiders, but it was a really fun movie, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it too. I thought it really held up for me. So I was psyched that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Brooklyn Fit Chick, and my site is brooklynfitchick.com.
And we also co-host another podcast together called What a Creep. So if you like the sound of our voices, and why wouldn't you? We do that one too. And we talk about creeps. And then we end the episode with someone who's not a creep. And our most recent episode that's out right now is about the Gainesville Ripper, who was the inspiration for Scream for last week's episode. So if you like really gory shit,
it all ties together.
That episode's for you. That one was, it might be one of the goriest ones we've done.
I actually edited a little bit. I
Good.
took a little bit out.
Thank you, because I felt bad about that one.
I was like, you know what? This is just a little intense. I think we got the gist.
Thank you for doing that. I haven't listened to it back yet, so I'll have to go back and hear where you trimmed it. I'm glad you did that, though, because no joke, I felt bad about how gory it was.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah.
Bad choice on my part. You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Right now on Instagram is the most amazing picture of my kids' school photo, if you're looking for a laugh.
The cutest thing ever. Calvin is so adorable. Everybody drink.
Everybody drink. Yeah, it is one of the most hilarious, like, awkward school photos. And my ex was like, I'm going to order a reshoot. And I'm like, why? Why? It's perfect just the way it is. Do not order a reshoot. It's great. Thank you.
I was listening to a radio station the other day, and they were talking about people, you can get reshoots, but you can also get like people that'll Photoshop your face. Like if you have zits or whatever, and they were all like, I think that's wrong, blah, blah. I'm like, that used to happen when I was a kid, and I'm old.
Yeah,
like they would
I'm
take
like,
the zits out of your pictures. Like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah, that was always a thing. And in this day and age with Instagram and filters and things like that, like, come on. Like, let people present their best selves if they want to.
Exactly. So stupid.
Also,
anyway.
Didn't you have so much anxiety about school pictures? I felt like I had no fucking say.
You know me. I don't pose for pictures ever. So can you imagine 12-year-old me? Yeah, I've never been comfortable.
No, you're in your like most awkward stage of your life, and it's like, and we're going to take a picture of you and we're going to put it in a fucking book where everyone could see it forever. Yeah,
none of my high school or junior high or elementary school pictures are great. I'm always very uncomfortable. It's a mistake. It's a happy accident if I take a good picture. You see me, I dive out of pictures. You are like, hello.
Yeah, no, I'm
You're
all
an extrovert.
I am an extrovert. I'm so extroverted. And I know that. And I even know, like, I was like, these are not going to be good photos of me. But I'm like, nah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you're like, I'm the opposite. I know. I'm a pain in the ass.
But in a way, school pictures are cruel. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's the whole point. It's not about
us. You could find Dorking Out at dorkingoutshow.com. Dorking Out Show on Twitter. You could find us on Facebook. I don't really interact on it that much. It's mainly where people go to complain about our language. But if you have a request, we take requests, and we're doing a request next week. So please send us your stuff. You could do that at dorkingoutshow@gmail.com. You can also send us emails there and ask for stickers. They're super cute. And give us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. Thanks for talking about arachnophobia with me, Margo.
I don't like spiders and snakes, and that's not what it takes. I'm running out of breath.